December 1st is coming. It's World AIDS Day on December 1st, and UNAIDS has released its annual World AIDS Day report, and it's a very good report. Now, UNAIDS is going to be surprised to hear me say that. They assume that I excoriate them at every opportunity. But the truth is, when praise is merited, I will shower praise. And this is a good, thoughtful, comprehensive, and sometimes probing document. It starts with the obvious point that over 18 million people are now in treatment, although another 18 million people still require treatment. That's an incredible number when you think of it. 18 million people, that's more than the population of Sweden, Norway, or Denmark, or Finland, or Austria, or Belgium, or Holland, or Portugal, or Switzerland. 18 million people, it's a lot of people. Then the report goes on to point out that they're $7 billion short on an annual basis for the resources that are required to deal with HIV and AIDS. Now, how we're going to make up that money or find it, I have no idea, particularly now with Donald Trump as president, and we won't know what kind of foreign aid assistance he's going to give to infectious diseases. And for the first time, in a serious way, much more than before, they deal with the relationship between tuberculosis and HIV and the relationship between breastfeeding and HIV. Those are two areas I want to deal with in a future commentary, perhaps next week. But the centerpiece of this report, and the most appalling, staggering reality, is what it says about young women and girls between the ages of 15 and 24. 7,500 new infections every week in that age category. That's something like 400,000 infections over the course of a year. And when you think of it, the disproportionate number of women and girls compared to boys and men is again staggering. In East Africa, amongst the 15 to 24-year-olds who are infected, 74% are women and girls. And in Southern Africa, it's 91% are women and girls. Now, it's twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the number of men and boys. And these young women and girls, they don't get tested as regularly. They don't adhere as strongly. They're susceptible to terrible opportunistic infections requiring second and third line drugs, and they're far too costly. They're not in school in sufficient numbers so that they could receive the education about prevention. They don't have access to sexual and reproductive health. And above all, they're subject to sexual violence. Do you know that intimate partner violence increases the likelihood of infection by 50%? Over the last few years, the infection rate amongst the 15 to 24-year-old women and girls has come down at a level of 1% a year. And if we're going to make our targets for the next several years, it has to come down at 20% a year. You know what lies at the bottom of all this, as always? Misogyny. It's the pox on this world. And now we have a president of the United States who is a vile misogynist buffoon. And we also, I guess, have lost millions of women and girls because of misogyny around HIV and AIDS and the transmission from older men in particular. No one should misunderstand the truth that gender equality and the struggle for equality remains the most important issue on the planet. That was last week. I'm Stephen Lewis.